So this is Wife Material Podcast, episode 18. How to choose a man. Now you have to understand that there's a couple types of men out there, but for example, there's high value men, there's average men, so there's high value men, men with a lot of money, as well as men, and the reason they have a lot of money is because they've made a big impact on the world, right? They've done stuff that benefited the world, and that definitely makes them high value. Like their value is very high because of what they've done for the world. And then you can have people who have a lot of money, but anybody that is good with money and works hard, to get money and then to invest it and this and that, can obviously have a lot of money, but still have done nothing for the world. So they can be a high earner, or they could just be rich but still be not that significant in the world, right? Then you got the average guy. Works hard because he has to, right? The only way he's going to have money is if he keeps on working. He's not going to be able to sit on his ass and do nothing and just see his bank account grow on its own, right? Like a high value man would be able to, or somebody who earns a lot of money from certain activities. So then you have the high value, which be up there when it comes to money and what they do for the world. And then you have the average guy, they do stuff for the world, of course, like being a police officer, for example, a firefighter, garbage man, lawyer, doctor, that kind of stuff. These are people who obviously, benefit society. So these are more people who benefit society more so than the world, because they benefit wherever they benefit the people in their area. Like being a police officer in Philly, for example, you benefit the people in Philly, Philadelphia, not the whole world, right? Someone, so that like a cop, right? A cop benefits the community. There you go. It benefits the community that they're in, while a high value man, for example, would benefit the world. So that's the difference between a high value man, that's the top of the top, right? High value, and then average. The top of the average would be somebody who benefits the community, like a police officer or firefighter, doctor, lawyer, people of that nature. And then there's categories under that, right? Like I said, guys who make a lot of money, but they don't benefit the world. They only benefit themselves, right? Financially. Then you got average guys who don't benefit the community because they're not a police officer or something like that, but they do make good money, relatively, like flipping burgers, McDonald's or something. To a certain degree, they're kind of helping the community, but they're doing basic stuff like cleaning toilets and stuff like that, right? They're useful in society, but they're not like too crucial. So basically, what I'm trying to say is like essential workers, is the top tier of average, right? Of importance when it comes to the average man. While anyone less than that, like anyone whose job is expendable, right? Then they wouldn't be that high on the average category, right? So always have to think that there's always a top and there's always a bottom in certain situations. Now you can say, oh, what about the middle ground, right? Yeah, the middle, but yeah, just like there's poor and then there's rich, right? The top is rich, the bottom is poor, but then you'll have middle class where, you're not really rich, but you're not really poor, right? Yeah, there is a gray area, as it were, but we want to go with like certain extremes, right? We want to go with the top of the top and the bottom of the bottom, right? So even the bottom has a top, is what I'm saying. Even the bottom has a top. So you could be, there, like even when it comes to homeless people, there's somebody there that's just better being homeless than somebody who isn't better at being homeless, right? There's people who are homeless, but they dress well, nice and stuff like that. They just don't have a house. And then there's homeless people that smell like human sewage. So see the difference. So that's why you have to understand that there's essentially two sides to to the same coin, right? There's two sides to every coin. So, high value men, there's good men and there's bad men, right? Yeah, when it comes to average men, there's good men and bad men, right? This is mainly about men. This does apply to women. If you want to apply it to women, it does apply, obviously, these concepts. So that's the important part, right? You want to know how to be able to determine how to choose a good man versus a bad man, right? So you have to understand what would classify as a good man, right? It should be simple. What classifies a good man as a good man. So here's some pointers. A good man should be selfless, not selfish, right? Selfish, is a bad thing, right? It's bad for people to be selfish, but sometimes being selfish can be okay, because it just means that you're at least taking care of yourself, right? So sometimes it's good to be selfish, but not all the time, right? Because then you're no good to anyone else if you're selfish all the time, right? Selfish sometimes is better than selfish all the time, right? So a selfless man, for example, since we're talking about good men, let me pull up this picture. Bang, right? Good man, right? Talking about good men. So you want to find the good man. So he has to be selfless, where he gives more to he gives more than he receives, right? He does things to benefit others. He considers other people when he makes decisions. Selfless guys tend to need less. Like they're very simple in what they need. They tend to need less. So since they don't tend to need a lot, whenever they have something, since they need less, they always have extra. Right? They always have an abundance. So they're always willing to share. So that's the selfless part, right? They can help and they would help. Then another thing is compromising. The fact that they would compromise, right? They believe, most good men believe in a win-win situation. They're always trying to find a way to make everything kind of equal, right? Make everything good or fair, I should say. They try to make everything fair. Try to make sure that everyone's happy. Sometimes they'll lean towards the lose-win scenario where they'll take a loss, like they'll lose a situation just to allow someone else to win as the compromise. So it's not always win-win. That's the more preferred scenario. A good man wants a win-win scenario where everyone wins. But if that's not possible, then they tend to go to the lose-win scenario where they'll take the loss in order for somebody else to get a win. And then we have fair exchange, not equality, because it's not really no equal. There's not equality, just fair exchange. They believe more in things being fair. Like if I'm hungry and someone else is hungry, what's fair is to make sure that there's food available, right? To try to make sure everybody at least gets something to eat. The amount of food is not going to be equal all the time, right? But at least everyone eats, so they'll try to make it fair, right? To try to make it where everyone at least gets something to eat. So not everything will always be 100% equal, right? There's that scenario. For example, a good man would, if he had to choose between him eating a steak dinner or his children eating a steak dinner, he'll make sure his children eat a steak dinner. If you understand what I mean. So he'll take less just to make sure everybody else has something, right? So that's the fair exchange, right? And if he does stuff for people, he expects people to do stuff in return, right? Fair is fair, right? So there's the fair exchange. Then we have physically strong, right? That's an important detail. Something I tend to notice a lot is that guys who exercise, for example, take good care of themselves. Always trying to make sure they're strong, and that they use their strength, like their physical strength, to help others and stuff like that. That's usually a sign of a good man. Not saying a shitty man couldn't be strong, just typically good men tend to use their physical strength to help others more so than to help themselves, right? So that's that. Then mental strength, mentally strong. Mental strength, just being smart, knowledgeable, always wanting to learn more, so that way they can be beneficial to others. That way, if other people need something, they can help because they took the time to learn something. Those types of guy, a good guy will pay attention to what other people like, and then they'll try to learn about that stuff, so that way they can, be able to communicate with them, with whoever they're trying to communicate with along the paths. Like, I'm not really much of a sports guy, for example, but if the people I associate with, they like sports, I will at least try to learn a little something about the sports they like, so that way when they're talking to me, I don't zone them out and be like, I don't know what you're talking about. At least I can understand um, what they're saying, even if I can't add to the conversation per se, because I don't know that much. But as long as I can understand what they're trying to tell me, I can react accordingly. You know what I mean? Like if they're telling me something and I understand it's supposed to be good news, like a good thing, then I can respond with like, "Oh, that's awesome," instead of looking like I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and then they're like, "You mean you don't know what I'm talking about? This is such a great thing." Like, "Oh, okay, this was a good thing for you." Oh, I didn't know. I was unaware that this was supposed to be a good thing because I actually didn't understand what the hell this was about. So it's important to understand a little bit about stuff, so that way you can understand, certain social cues. Like understand this somebody's trying to tell you good news, and you might want to react that you heard some good news and not be an asshole and look like you don't care. That's the most important thing. Some people, you don't need to truly care about things. People are just happy when someone at least expresses that they care, even if they don't. Think about it, you don't actually have to care about shit, but it is a good idea to act like you care, right? Because a lot of times people just need that. Like for example, you might not be interested in a conversation with somebody. Like they'll be talking your ear off, and you're like really don't care about what they're saying, but you don't go out your way to be an asshole to them. You allow them to say what they need to say because you don't know, they might have needed to talk. Maybe they're venting. Maybe there's something on their mind and they just need to get it out. So let them get it out. Unfortunately, you'll be in a scenario where you have to be a wall. You just gotta be there and then just let them talk to you, right? Be an echo chamber, right? Just be there, just to allow them to speak. That way, it doesn't look like they're crazy just talking to themselves, right? So just be there and just let them get their thoughts out, right? Sometimes people just gotta hear their thoughts out loud. So just be there for them. That's what I'm saying. So that's what mentally strong. But some people would just get so annoyed. They're like, "Oh my god, stop talking! Oh my god, I don't care!" And then just shit just goes the wrong direction. Somebody who's mentally strong can find a way to deal with the fact that maybe somebody is annoying them with a conversation, but they understand that there's a reason for it, so they're going to do what they can for it. Respectful, which goes with the mentally strong thing, is try to be as nice and as respectful as you can. Understand that some people, like in my experience in life, some people think of me. What is it? Like some people, I guess I give off a nice person vibe sometimes. I'm not saying I'm a bad person. I'm just saying is that like total strangers will like come up to me and just start talking to me and just confide in me like if we're best friends, like we've been friends for years or something. And it just feels weird to me, like, okay, I guess I have that type of face, like somebody can trust me. I've been in a scenario where it'd be late at night, dark, and a woman would not hesitate to come to me. You gotta understand, I'm a big guy. I'm a big guy, and at least I think I'm scary. At least I think I'm a threat. But a lot of people, just come up to me, just talk to me like there's nothing to be afraid of, right? It's like, which is okay because like there's nothing really to be afraid of. Obviously, I'm a relatively good person, but it's the fact that it's like, oh, okay, I guess I give off that vibe that, I'm a good person, so they'll trust me, even though they don't know me, right? But that's okay. So being respectful is important, at all times, right? And that's an important tip for you ladies. Pay attention to how a man acts that you like when you're not around. Well, not that when you're not around, it's when he doesn't notice you're around. Like, there might be a moment where you see him talking, interacting with somebody else, and he's unaware that you're there. Don't draw attention, right? Don't let him know you're there. Just watch and see how he behaves. See how he acts when he doesn't know you're watching him. Pay attention, and you might notice certain things. Sometimes, if you notice your man is looking at a like, let's say, TV or something, like maybe they're watching a movie or something. Pay attention to how he's reacting to certain situations. You know what I mean? You'll learn a lot about a man that way. A good man, he'll look at certain scenes in a movie, and you might notice that might be a heartwarming moment with there's a father-daughter moments, and it's all nice and emotional, right? For you, it's like a moment, but for him, if you pay attention, you might notice that he's reacting a certain type of way, and if he's reacting a certain type of way, like he can relate to the father type thing, then it's like, oh, there's a good man right there. I know I tend to do that a lot. Like, oh, there's a good man right there. He can relate to the good father scenario in this situation. But if he relates too much to a scenario where there's a guy just pimp slapping women left and right, he's like, yeah, he enjoys seeing the women getting slapped around. Yeah. You might want to keep a real close eye on him, right? So that's a little pro tip. All right, the bad man. Boom, boom, boom. Oops, wrong place. All right, the bad man. These tabs are not in the order. There we go. The bad man, right? So he'll be selfish, right? And I don't know. I'm pretty good judge of character, and especially when it comes to men, because I'm so used to being around men. Right? I'm a man. I'm used to men. So sometimes, let's see. All right, what was I saying? Yeah, you can tell. Like, for example, like this guy in this image, he could be, a good guy in this actor when you get to know him. And that's the important thing, ladies. It's not just, the old saying, don't judge a book by its cover, but a lot of times the cover gives you a pretty good idea what's in the book, right? The thing is, you still got to read the book. Is the point I want to make. You can't 100% judge a book by the cover, but it's very important to learn how to read the book, right? To understand the possibility that the cover of the book might be misleading. So learn how to read men, learn how to understand, right? Because like I said, in this image, he looks like, that he would be an asshole, but he could actually be a relatively decent guy. But at the same time, the fact that I feel he could be an asshole could stem from the fact that he might have had issues in his life that just makes him a little more negative towards life. He seems to be less positive. So again, selfish, right? The whole, feeling like he's important, instead of his actions showing, expressing that he's important by like him being important, right? By solving problems, making important decisions or something like that. Like what he does benefits others. That will be telling of a person who's selfless. But if he is a selfish person where he's always trying to win, he's always trying to get something either for nothing or get something more than someone else. He's always trying to get more than what everybody else gets. Now, if you like a selfish guy and you like a guy who, is a go-getter, as it were, a guy who's like, yeah, man, try to get as much money as I can, no matter what. Like, all right, this is a guy that would cheat, right? A guy that would break the rules, as it were, to try to get what he wants because he'll justify he'll justify the end, the means because of the end, right? Justify the ends through the means. So he'll be like, okay, since I want a lot of money, you know, tricking people into giving me money, taking money, justify it, stuff like that. So somebody who's selfish is more likely prone to do selfish things like that, right? Do things that benefit them but doesn't benefit others. And then uncompromising, which goes with the whole selfish thing of always wants a win-lose scenario where they win, everyone else loses. That tends to be the most common thing with bad men, is that they want to win, right? They want what they want, and they don't care if other people are losing. They don't care if other people don't get what they want. This is that type of person that if they have to choose between them getting a steak dinner or somebody else getting a steak dinner, they would choose themselves, right? Because that would lead back to selfishness. So, for example, this Batman list does apply to ladies. So it's the whole like, yes, bad men tend to behave more like women. Yes, ladies, shots fired, right? The whole being selfish. It's all about them. It's all about what makes them happy. And me, selfish of it. And that's the thing, because the opposite of a man, shots fired, right, is a woman, right? So if a good man is selfless, right, the opposite of a selfless good man will be a selfish woman, right? But we're just talking about guys right now. But like I said, this does apply to women as well. Because here's the thing, right? Being a good man and being selfless, for example, and compromising this, that, and third, and being a giving person. Well, since you're a giving person, you gotta give to someone, right? So the opposite of that would be someone who takes. So since a man gives, he's a provider, he gives. Woman has to be the one who takes, right? She has to be the one who receives what he gives. So that's why a man will be selfless, especially a good man, and a woman will be selfish. Not necessarily means selfish, in like a really bad way. Just selfish as in she wants stuff. She, feels like she needs things. Like, she's hungry, right? Even though she can eat a salad and that'd be enough, she wants a salad and a steak dinner. Okay, go ahead. Have both the salad and the steak dinner. Fine, I'll just take the steak or the salad, whatever works for me. But that's the thing, is like, since men tend to be, especially good men, tend to be more selfless than, that's why most men like selfish women, like women that, want things from men. Oh, you want money? No problem. Oh, you want to spend, a lot of time with me? You want to hang out with me on what I'm doing? Fine. Things like that. Like, a woman that wants things from you tends to be more appealing, right? For a man who's a giving. If he's a very generous man, then he likes, being around people who like his generosity. I know I've experienced this where like I give people money just because I don't need it. It's like, okay, I got this $20 bill in my pocket. I don't need it. I got all this money in the bank, and I don't feel like trying to put this $20 in the bank. So I'll just give it to somebody because maybe they can use it, right? So I'll just give it to somebody. But then they act as like it's weird, like, oh, whoa, why are you giving me the money for? What's this for? Blah, blah. And then I have to actually explain. I don't need the money, so it's just I don't need it. So if you don't want it, that's fine. I'll take it back. But it's just money. It's not a big deal. But for some people, it is a big deal, right? For me, it's not a big deal. It's just paper, right? But for other people, it's a very, very important thing. All right, cool. Then that's more reason why you should take the money when I offer it to you, right? Don't make me feel weird by acting all weird, like, oh, why are you giving me money? It's money. Like, it's something you can use. I don't view it as important. If you do, then take it and use it because it's important to you. It's not important to me. All right, so there's that. So I definitely like it when I do things for women and they appreciate it. I don't like it when they don't want to when they refuse for me to do stuff for them and when they do take stuff that I do for them, they don't appreciate it. So that's for another conversation, right? uh, you know, of the bad woman. Because obviously I'm looking for the good woman, one that wants uh, the things that I give her. So back to the bad man thing. All right, so um, he definitely believes in equality because he does not believe in doing more, giving more. He definitely doesn't believe in getting less, having less. So he's all about equality. Because he rather get the same as everyone else or get more. He will never want to get less than anyone else. Right? So that's the unbalanced exchange. See, a good man cares about fair exchange, not equal exchange where everybody has to have the same amount of stuff. You know, a good man, is like fair exchange. You know, everybody else is eating cookies. I'll be okay with this glass of water or some hypothetical shit like that, right? Like he'll be okay because at least he got something, right? It's better to have something than nothing, but what he has doesn't have to be equal to anybody else, doesn't have to be better or, right? He'll be okay with something less, right? So just like a good man wouldn't have a problem paying more than everybody else, but a bad man definitely has a problem paying more, right? We always complain about paying more. So why do I gotta pay $1 more than everybody else? Like, that kind of stuff. So for him, it's all about the unbalanced exchange. He always wants to make sure that he gets more and doesn't give more. So that's that. Then physically weak. Most, men that bad men tend to be weak, physically, because they tend to be lazy, they tend to not want to do anything. So why would they be physically strong, right? Why would they be putting work, right? Why would they put effort and work into doing anything? They'll typically want to do nothing. So since they typically don't do much of anything for anyone else, that's for sure. They barely do anything for themselves. They prefer other people to do things for them. So physically, they will be weak. They wouldn't be that strong because they don't use their muscles for anything other than scratching their ass, right? And then there's mentally weak, right? If the guy's not very physical, he's not doing much of anything, right? He doesn't think much of anything, right? So he's not always trying to improve. He doesn't care about other people's problems per se, or other people's interests. He only cares about what he cares about. So then he's not going to try to learn anything new so he can try to get along with other people because he could care less about other people because he's selfish, right? Remember, back to the selfish part? He's selfish. So he only cares about himself. He only sees himself as valuable and sees everybody else as not. He just sees everybody else as things that he can, use per se, right? He sees everybody else as things that exist for his needs. So that goes back to selfish, right? And then disrespectful, right? Since he's selfish, he's not going to be that respectful to other people because he cares more about what he thinks and how he feels and stuff like that than about what he thinks about other people, right? About what other people, feel and care about. So he's not going to respect other people. More likely, often than not, he'll think that he's better than them anyway. Because he values himself more than he values anyone else. So he doesn't, respect other people. Even if other people are, helping him. Like, let's say other people are letting him stay in their place, that way he's not homeless, not asking him to pay anything, like bills and shit, doing him favors, right? Helping him out, but he won't even respect the people who are helping him out, right? Because, again, like I said, he'll view himself as more important than everyone else. Therefore, he's not going to look at the situation he's in and see it as, oh man, I'm a total douchebag. I'm a piece of shit. I'm inconveniencing other people. I should be useful to others, not expect others to be useful to me, right? I appreciate when other people are nice to me, when other people do things for me. I do get surprised at first, like, oh shit, people are being nice to me. Oh shit, somebody's doing me a favor. Like I've been in scenarios where I'm not supposed to be in first class, for example, but then I end up in first class, right? Like I've been in first class on a plane, I've been in first class on a train and stuff like that. Like I've been in scenarios where I end up in a better situation than I was supposed to be. You know, it's like, okay, shit happens, you know. And somebody being nice to me, somebody giving me money just because they felt like it. Hey, thanks, I appreciate it. I definitely could use the money, right? Things like that. So it's like, you know, that's the kind of person I am. You know, I'm generous. So not surprising that other people, you know, are generous to me, right? What goes around comes around is, you know, the whole karma thing, right? So if I do good things for others and I help others, there's a high possibility people are going to look out and help me. So I appreciate it. Sometimes I get surprised because, you know, I have this whole hope for the best but plan for the worst, which means I expect a lot of shitty things to happen, but always hope for the best, right? Always hope good things happen instead, right? You know, love you ladies, but right now, the way the world is, specifically how y'all ladies are right now, like modern women, right now, you're guilty until proven innocent, right? You're shitty until you prove me otherwise, right? You're bad at making decisions until you prove me otherwise, and the list goes on and on. Like, ladies, you gotta do better. You gotta prove me wrong, right? You gotta do better. Be less selfish. It's okay to be selfish a little bit, right? You know what I mean? I expect you to be selfish. I expect you to want things and expect things from me, for example. But don't be greedy. That's the thing. Being too selfish is a problem. You know, just like being too selfless can be a problem because then people will take advantage of you, right? But that's for a different conversation. Point is you know, you got to understand that not every man is a man, right? So here's the other scenario. So even within high value men and average men, there's good men and bad men, right? Bad men would be man-childs, right? These are men, right? Physically they're men, but mentally they're not. Mentally they're still immature, you know, boys. And a lot of times women will, whether the guy is average or the guy is high value man, right? If the man, you know, that you physically see acts like a little boy, acts like a child, you know, behaves like a child, you know, when you have conversations with him, it feels like you have a conversation with a child because a lot of his responses seem childlike. They don't seem like, you know, like he has experience or he's mature, blah, 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 right? The list goes on. So that's important, you know, to understand. See, right? Because if you look at Bill Gates, do you think, would you have a mature conversation with him, or will you think you'll have an immature conversation where he'll be making like fart jokes all the time, or he'll be like constantly staring at your tits and saying how beautiful they are? I mean, it's one thing to say it one time, it's one thing to look once in a while, but try to not get caught, you know, looking at her chest, but still, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's like, logically, right? would you, you know, what would you expect? So that's why it's like it's important to get to read the book, as they say, right? Get to know what's under the cover of the, you know, what's the contents of the book. Don't just judge a book by cover. You know, the cover of a book, right, gives you an idea of what to expect, but have an open mind, and that's the most important thing. Most women don't have an open mind, right? Like, they'll have an open mind for the wrong guy, but they don't have an open mind for the right guy. Like, a guy will approach you and, you know, show you he's interested. He'll look like this guy right here, right? Approach you and be like, you know, saying hi, how you doing? You know, he's being nice. He's not being an asshole. He's not like, yo, baby, yo, I like you. You know, I'm feeling you. You know, he's being polite and very respectful right off the bat. Give him, you know, be open-minded. Give him the benefit of the doubt that, you know, he has a great personality, right? Women love, I always hear that out. A lot of women like to talk about, oh, my friend has a great personality. Like, yeah, I hope so. But you know what's funny? Do you have a great personality? Because I'm looking at your body. It looks good. Does the personality match the body, right? Does the contents of the book match the cover? So I'm looking at your cover. It looks good. It's the content's good. That's the thing, right? So, because you might look at me and be like, you're an okay looking guy. All right, cool. I'm an okay looking guy, but once you get to know me, I'm probably pretty awesome, right? You don't know until you know, right? And that's the most important thing. You don't know until you do know. You don't want to know late, right? You don't want to know at the wrong time. You want to know as soon as possible. So the sooner you you figure out if the guy you're talking to is a good guy, a good man, or a bad man is very important because you don't want to waste a lot of time with a bad man, right? So this ain't perfect science right here. I'm doing my best to give you the insight, get you to understand, because these are things that I notice when I'm interacting and talking with you know men in general. Like when I see another guy, I talk to them. Sometimes I'll see how he looks, like how he dress and how he acts, and then I make a certain judgment based off of it. Like, okay, he might be this type of guy, he might be a good guy. But then I'll pay attention. I keep open mind today. Did it? He might not be a good guy, so I'll pay attention. Right, I'll keep an open mind. That not be blind. That's the thing. Most women, first impressions. So a guy like this guy walks, this average guy walks up to a woman and she'll immediately be like, nope, not my type, blah, blah, blah. We don't have chemistry. We don't vibe or whatever excuses they want. They're just immediately like, nope, not my type. Like, okay, yeah, it might not be your type physically, but you haven't even checked to see if I'm your type, mentally, right? But okay, teach them if that's how you want to judge things, right? So but then you got a guy who you probably know he got money, you probably know who he is. He got clout in this and third. He probably good looking or whatever, teach their own. And then oh, there you go. Good looking, whatnot, teach their own. And then you're like, okay, definitely. I'll let this guy, give this guy a shot because, he's good looking. But then the stuff that comes out of his mouth is just like, oh man, this guy is an asshole, or he's annoying, or man, I wish he just goes away. Like, damn, I regret, being nice to him because, he's not what I thought he was. Exactly, that's the thing. Don't assume. There's nothing wrong with having a preconception of who somebody is based off of just looking at them, right? But don't get your hopes up, as they say, right? Don't assume when you see a nice looking guy, he's like your type, that he's going to be perfect and great, that he's going to be amazing. And it's like, finally you found the perfect guy for you. It's like, no, he's, there's a high mathematical probability that he's not, right? So be open minded, be careful. Like I've seen some women where it's like, I see them, I'm like, yo, she's hot, but then I find out their personality, and it's like, there's something wrong with you. I don't even think I'm saying this right. For example, right, back in the day, I like Raven Simone, that's so Raven, pretty, right? Classic images, right? But once you get to know her personality, not as appealing. So her body nice, right? But her personality nice, right? So the cover is nice, but the contents of the book is not as nice as I want it to be. I'm just saying, not my cup of tea, right? The tea might look good, but it might not taste good, right? So that's important. So that's why it's important to get to know somebody, right? Most women have it in their mind that they just automatically assume a guy is a certain way, right? If she sees a guy and she thinks a guy looks like he's a good guy, bang, she automatically, well, imagine him as a good guy. Everything he does is perfect. They always create like a backstory. Like they always act like they know his whole life just based off of the fact that they find him attractive. The fact that they, are paying attention to him. Suddenly in their mind, they're imagining not only the past, like how his life was, but then they start imagining the future, right? Which is not a problem. It's cute, right? She already, planning to, in her head, she's already seeing you and her, married and living life and having kids and stuff, and she's already thinking of the kids' names and stuff. Like, that's cute and all, right? That's sweet. But You still didn't get to know the guy yet. You still got to get to know the guy. That's an important. If anything, because on average, most women want so much from guys that you have to interview a guy the most. You need to ask a guy a million effing questions to make sure that he's the right guy for you. You can't just be like, oh, he looks good, bang, he's the right guy for you. No. Guys can do that. Guys can go like, oh yeah, she looks good, she's the right girl for me. Because we don't expect too much from women. We don't want too much from women. We don't ask for too much from women. So, the first thing is she hot? Bang, there. That checks one off our list. She's hot. Does she find me attractive? Would she have sex with me? That's the real question. I don't have to be attractive to her. It's just if she will be willing to have sex with me. And if the answer is yes, I bang, check that off. So she's hot. She's willing to have sex with me. And does she tolerate any does she care about my life or not, right? As in, like, she doesn't care, like she doesn't care about my hobbies, this and that. Like, it doesn't bother, like, me having a hobby or me playing video games or something. Like, she doesn't care about what I do, per se. Like, it doesn't bother her that I have things to do, I live my life a certain way. She's just happy to be there. It's like, okay, cool. That simplifies things because that means you're not going to try to change me, right? You're not going to tell me to stop living up my life the way I'm living it. If I'm not hurting nobody, right? If I'm not hurting you, hurting myself, hurting anyone else, it shouldn't be a problem that, I don't, that I like to just chill from time to time, play video games or, travel, whatever. Like, if you're okay with what I do, then you're okay with what I do, right? So there, bang, check that off. And that's it. Not much, right? Right? Not much. Just like that 3 things I hear a lot about the sex, sandwich, and silence, right? Yeah, that sounds just about right? It makes sense, right? Like, we don't ask for too much, because for us men, we understand that, yeah, women like different things. Women change, the things they like, just like they change a lot, right? They always they like to change outfits. They like to change friends. They like to change a lot of things. Since they like to change a lot of things, we are a little concerned that they might want to change us, right? Not just change us. Obviously, they'll try to, but they'll try to, most importantly, try to change us as in replace us, right? They'll go from us to the next guy, right? So that becomes a problem. See, with guys, it's different though. Guys, we don't want to replace the woman that we have. We rather just get another one, right? And still have the one we have. We don't replace stuff in our life. We add to it, right? We don't get rid of our own old friends and get and then get new friends. No, we just get new friends, and now our old friends are new friends. Now we expect them to become friends, right? So now our group of friends is bigger, right? We don't make our group of friends small or keep it at the same number. We always, we have no problem making our groups of friends get bigger, 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 right? It's the whole tribe mentality, right? We like abundance, right? We like to have a lot, just like having a lot of women. So, that's what tends to happen a lot. Like for me, I'm, I like to be a little logical. I'm like, if I really want to be with another woman, like sexually or just in general, then I would just leave the woman that I'm with and then be with the other woman, right? Just because I want to be fair. As in, even though I would want to have both women, of course, both women would disagree with that. They won't want to agree with that situation unless they do. And there's some women I've met in my life that are okay with that arrangement. I'm saying more likely they're not going to be okay with the arrangement on average. So that's why I would have to, replace one with the other, right? In a proper way, which is to break up with one and then be with the other one, right? But I would rather, like most men would rather, I would rather just be able to have both, right? Just have both. Why can't I get along with both of y'all? Why can't I be with both of y'all, right? Why can't, why would that be much of a problem? Right? But I can understand, Like I said, women are selfish, so I can understand the idea of not wanting to share. But a lot of times they tend to be a little bit hypocrite, right? But they don't want to share me with another woman, but they have no problem with a whole bunch of other dudes, right? Especially if they already had a whole bunch of dudes before being with me. And then it's like, your body count's 30 plus. My body count's not that high at all. I would like to add a couple more numbers to my body count, but of course should be against it. More reason why I should get my body count up first before I get into a long distance, not long distance, a long-term relationship, right? Before I settle down, go get my body count up. If that's what I care for, right? If quantity matters to me, then get it while I can, right? Get the quantity and then go for quality. But I am a quality over quantities type of man, so there's that. But there's a high probability that what's going to happen in the future, especially with how women are nowadays. Unfortunately, I might have to go the quantity route, so I'm going to have multiple women, not just because I want multiple women. Obviously there's a financial component to having a whole bunch of women. It's not going to be cheap to have a lot of women. So obviously, logically, I wouldn't want to have a lot of women because, the finances, right, the money. But if I could afford it, I could afford it, which is more likely what's going to happen. But it's just the factor of the fact that it'll be hard to, it'll be way harder to have quality than it would be to have quantity. Quality is very rare nowadays, just like common sense is very rare nowadays. It's not as common. Common sense is not as common as it used to be. So, with women having high body counts, most women are not maintaining their virginity and so forth and so forth. That's making it harder for me to find quality. So, I'm going to have to settle for quantity. So, I'm going to have to work out an arrangement for that. So, we'll see how that works out. And what was I saying? Said, I'm a good man, so I could be loyal, faithful, all that good stuff, but I also expect that in return. And I do my best. And that's another thing, because I've always wanted to be, do the whole husband-wife thing. I'm old school, I'm traditional, so I, have been maintaining myself, to, I what is that term? To a higher standard. I live up to a higher standard, right? So I trying to make sure that I'm the best man I can be for whoever the best woman I meet, right? So I'm trying to make sure I am the good man, right? I am the right guy for the right woman. But the thing is it's starting to look like it's not going to be easy to find the right woman. I might end up finding the right woman, but she might have certain things that makes her not right theoretically, right? Not right on paper, as it were, right? It'll be hard to find the perfect woman, right? But as long as she's close enough, then, I'll work with what I can. But it's just the unfortunateness that, in this day and age, the perfect woman, for me, I would have to literally engineer, right? I would have to do some genetic engineering and literally create, as the term goes, build a bitch, right? We'll literally have to create a perfect woman for myself, because more likely the perfect woman wouldn't exist in this current environment, in this current society, because the way the world is right now, women are not the way they used to be. But we'll see. We'll see. Not much else I can think of right now, but this should be enough to give you, at least, obviously I'll talk about this more in later episodes. Just wanted to give you ladies something to think about. Like, it's important to understand this. Like, you got to do better when it comes to vetting men. You got to do better. This whole like, it's men's fault. It's men's fault. They need to be better. They need to do this. No, see, because you're trying to be lazy. You're trying to have it where, like, no, every man on this planet needs to learn how to be the same, as in learn how to be a good man. The way we think a good man is a good man. It's like, no, good men and bad men, they vary depending on, woman, depending on the man, of course, because even, villains, right? They have, even villains have families, right? Even villains have kids, and they're good to their children and wives and this, that, and they're just bad to everyone else, right? So one person's hero is somebody else's villain, right? So your good man that's good for you is actually a bad man for another woman. That's yeah. I want to get into that. That's another thing. You have to understand that the guy you've dealt with, the guys you picked, right? You picked them. Remember that you picked them, so you're to blame for them not being the right guy, right? But here's the thing you have to understand: they were not the right guy for you. Most women I know act like, oh my god, my ex-boyfriend, he's terrible. Oh my god, I feel bad for the next woman. And if he does end up finding another woman, right? It ends up dating another woman, then she'll try to disrespect the other woman, like he's a piece of shit. He fucked up. Try to talk down to the other woman, thinking the other woman, just being very disrespectful. Like, okay, you and this guy didn't work out. All right, fine. Be happy that you don't have to deal with him no more. But to look down at another woman like, you picked bad. He was a piece of shit. It's like, oh, that's interesting. You chose bad, so now you're assuming another woman's choosing bad. Think about it. What's interesting is you didn't know he was quote unquote wrong guy, right? A bad guy before you got with him. So the same thing goes for her, right? She doesn't know he's a bad guy, right? You're like, oh, he is a bad guy. I know, yeah, you know now, you didn't know then. So don't be hypocritical, right? Don't try to be high and mighty like you always known he was a bad man. Like, no, right? You're not doing nobody no favors. You fucked up, right? You failed, and now you're trying to point out that somebody else is failing, right? But that's the thing. You're assuming that he's the wrong guy for her because she was the wrong guy for you. But remember, not every woman's the same, right? 100% the same. Similar, yes. Same, no. Right? So he's bad for you, but great for someone else, right? I might have one or two ex-girlfriends. They'll be like, that I was a bad boyfriend or something, right? That I'm not a good man, as it were, right? That's what they believe, and I would agree with the fact that I'm not a good man for them. Not that I'm not a good man, as in not a good person. I'm just not a good man for them. I wasn't the right guy for them, and I will agree with that. I wasn't the right guy for you, but doesn't mean I'm not the right guy for someone else. Point is, I am the right guy for someone else, which is why I should be looking for someone else, right? And that's why I'm not with you no more, because I'm not the guy for you. I actually belong to someone else, right? I'm the right guy for someone else, and I'm on my journey to find the person I'm right for, right? So just because I didn't work out with you doesn't mean I'm never going to work out with anyone else. That's not how it works, right? Just because you failed does not mean every other woman's going to fail when it comes to me. That's just my point of view. And it's the end of the podcast.